Okay, hello. Claire's
Good
got
morning.
she's got her sunnies on. Says we're gonna talk about the sun. I should have worn my yellow sweatshirt.
I know. What are you thinking? I mean, pink's okay, but
I almost wore a yellow sweatshirt today, but I was like, oh, it might be a little hot. But that would have been, see, my higher self is trying to tell me to wear yellow.
yes, yes. My yellow orangey sunglasses bring some sunlight into my day. Sometimes I just wear them around the house because they make me super happy. And you know, if we think about the color yellow, yellow is related to happiness. Sometimes it's related to our third chakra, our solar plexus, which is like the sun of our body, the power center, our ability to do things and create things. So the sun is energizing. So sometimes I pop these on when I need a little motivation.
Okay. Well, if you haven't guessed, we're going to talk about the sun today. So let's dive right in. Okay, so I was reflecting. I was going through some of my channelings to pull information about the sun because we decided let's try and do this in a way that you guys get a little bit of like, I don't know, hopefully the fun and mystery and magic of, the channeled information. But then there's maybe some links to some supporting information other than just, what we're conjuring up. And we're not conjuring it up, but anyway. So I started going through my channelings and I was like, oh my God. I mean, it was just a lot to go through. So I did channeling yesterday about the sun. So we'll probably read that at some point. And then Claire was going to kind of do just a little fact checking on some of the concepts that we play around with that the guides have offered through the years. And I was saying to Claire when we started, I've been sharing these messages with Claire since the very beginning. So I'm like, well, we came along together in some of these concepts. And it's like, all right, how do we introduce them in a way that doesn't like completely overwhelm who's ever listening? Or just who's ever listening be like, who are these two crazy ladies? So hopefully we can find balance today.
Yes. So, Julie, you are a sun worshiper. You love your beautiful sun down in the Bahamas and the Exumas. So, how do you harness the power of the sun, just like in your daily life?
Okay. So one way, and I know we've talked about it, is I got a message, many messages, and I'll read some quotes as we get into it today, about putting a glass vessel outside in the sun. And literally that the
Full of
sun,
water.
pardon?
Full of water.
Full of water. I fill it with water. Thank you. Put it in the sun. And the sun is offering information. I mean, and I didn't know any of this until I started learning very slowly through my guides. It's offering information. It's charging the water. It is literally liquid love, right? It's just love. It's energy. It's information, and it speaks to ourselves. And I wish I could, I will. I'll read some of the quotes at some point that they said about this. But one, they said, all living beings are advanced by the introduction of light. Introduction of light through the sun advances the functionality of our being. So that's a really simple thing that I do. Additionally, I do, especially when I'm in Exuma, because I don't, I can just kind of stumble out of bed before my contacts go in. And I just receive that early morning sunlight. It contains all of the rays from what I understand. Everything's kind of offered in a way that we can take in without causing any kind of harm to our eyes. So I do that. Where I live now in Clayton, I'm like searching, I got to like look between a tree and look between a building. And those of you who know me know that I probably have 30,000 plus pictures of the sun because I'm constantly looking at what's happening to the sun. How is the sun changing today? How is it offering its energy to us today? What presentation does it have? I've seen the sun pulsing, like stuff going in and out of the sun. And I'm like, I was in this book club and one of the ladies there said to me, I mean, you're so obsessed with the sun. And I was like,
Are you not?
oh. I was like, duh. I mean, everything that is life. We need the sun. So yeah.
I can attest to some of this may sound crazy, but some of the incredible pictures of the sun you have captured with geometric patterns coming out of it, with orbs around it, with rainbow rays of light coming out of it. We have talked about this and I can't explain it. I can take the exact same picture standing in the exact same place as Julie of the sun and not get that picture. So something to sun water you're drinking. I'm drinking sun water too. Julie got me on that. But there is something to that. So maybe we can share some of your awesome sun pictures on social media.
Oh, that'd be so fun. You guys will just be like shocked and awed that is going on every day up there. I mean, to varying degrees, but yes, that would be amazing. So that's how I am basically obsessed with the sun. And I am, of Irish, what did they talk about the heritage, and they said, be sensible, so I should, if I listen to the dermatologist and the doctors, I should really cower from the sun because I am, not naturally someone who tans. Claire has like beautiful, you tan so easily. And I am just not that way. But I do tan now and I don't burn. And that is from sort of cleaning myself up a little bit from the inside, because the sun is just showing us what's going on inside of us, right? So if there's inflammation or burning, there are things in me that probably aren't really serving me. But if you're really fair, they're like, be sensible, find shade, wear a shirt, but be in the sun. Don't fear the sun.
Yes.
So.
Yeah, so we can even start off talking about sunscreen. There's this whole movement happening now. And you know what I think kicked it off? This was super interesting when I was kind of doing some research, was the whole recall from Johnson & Johnson that they discovered this carcinogenic, it was benzene, right? Oh, benzene causes cancer, right? So they're recalling all this sunscreen. And I think that really kicked off a distrust. Now that was for certain products, right? Certain companies, but it was also like, hey, wait a minute. And people started coming to the foreground saying, sunscreen might not be as healthy for us as we thought. And then it's like, oh, this is ancient knowledge. The sun, the source of all life on our planet, we need it every day. And the more we put sunscreen on, again, being sensible, if you're going to be out in the sun for 5, 6, 7 hours, yes, you need to cover up with something. And there are plenty of like natural sunscreen options now that work beautifully. But what you were saying, the skin cancer scare is largely because of the oils and fats that we're eating that then are in our skin, and then the sun bakes that. It's not coming from the sun. It's coming from what we're eating, and it's coming out of us. And that toxic crap is what leads to cancer. And tons of studies have been done that people groups who live closer to the equator have way less evidence of cancer, way less. So it's like, Also, their skin is typically darker. We know that people with more melanin in their skin, they actually need more sunlight. They need twice as much as people who are fair skinned, but they can also absorb and take in much more. So there's a lot to talk about here. I'm excited.
There's a lot. There's so much. And I believe, and I don't have the data on this, but I do believe that the incidence of skin cancer has only gone up since the introduction of sunscreen and just banging that drum. Wear your sunscreen, wear your sunscreen, wear your sunscreen. So that's really interesting. I don't think it's ever a great idea to buy anything, use anything, not know what 19 of these things are, and then go, psh. Who does that? I mean, that's crazy. So just being able to stop for a minute and go, wait, who's telling me that this is what I need to do? Am I blindly just trusting everything that I hear? I mean, you would never take, I don't know, you would never just go into a hardware store and pick up a can of some shit and just douse yourself and your children with it without having any idea what's in there. So let's just, I don't have to have the facts. I can say, let's just educate ourselves. What is this shit?
Mm-hmm.
Nothing, actually, a lot of stuff makes me crazier, but I was at a pool this weekend and someone I love and respect very much gets out that can and literally is just, it's everywhere. And I'm like, oh my God, why do we think this is healthy? Why? So the fear.
Sorry, didn't mean to cut you off.
Well, I mean, I don't want to get, too down this hole of this, but what if the opposite were true? What if the sun is here to heal us and not harm us? Let's just entertain that for a second.
Mm-hmm. And we do know that when we have the appropriate levels of vitamin D in our body, cancer cannot live. That is one of the number one naturopathic approaches. When people get a cancer diagnosis, what do? They douse their bodies in vitamin D. And here we are, cover up, don't get too much. And actually, I think one of the doctors I found, I'll talk about Barbara O'Neill in a little bit, but she recommends 15 minutes of direct sunlight every day, right? So and then you kind of build your base tan, and a base tan is the best protection against getting burnt. So it's that slow and steady, like building up the ability, like you were talking about, of our skin to absorb the sun's rays. Yeah, if we're coming out fresh out of winter, we don't go stand out in the sun for hours. We do 15 minutes.
Additionally, the absorption of vitamin D, oral vitamin D, what's the source of your vitamin D? It goes back to knowing what's in the bottle, what's in the can, where did it come from? Can you trust where it came from? And our absorption as humans is really compromised because of the GMO modified foods that we've eaten. And that's a whole other day. But so we might be taking vitamin D, but how bioavailable is it to you? So the sun, it's pretty easy. Just go out there and get it. It's free. It's free for everybody.
So Julie, you mentioned that you had kind of been going back through some of your old channelings and, just looking at some of the messages that you were receiving from your guide team about the sun. Would you want to kind of start there, share some of the things?
Yeah, I will start. And I stopped. I mean, I was just skimming. I was like, but I made some like bullet points in 2018. Kind of the first thing regarding the sun, they talked about 1,000 suns. And it made me think of that book, 1,000 Splendid Suns. But I was like, 1,000 suns. And they said it's Sanskrit. And it said, if the radiance of 1,000 suns were to burst at once into the sky, that indeed would be a representation of the radiant splendor of the mighty I am. And so I'm like, seems like the sun's pretty powerful,
Chills, yes. And that's available to us. Like that's the power available to us.
That right. So then another thing was fire, rains, and rays. Rains, they spelled it 3 ways, like rains, the power. And the rays fall from the sky, cosmic rays incoming of redemption and transmutation. And they underline mutation. This is how we genetically mutate. So pretty powerful. Then much more in 2018, but 2019, they said the ability to receive and offer this information occurs through the skin, but essentially through the eyes and the iris.
Can we pause there and dive into a little story I'd love to share?
Yeah, share it.
Okay, so I've had pretty bad vision since I was a child. I've had to wear glasses since I was in 3rd grade, and now I wear contacts and glasses. And Julie started telling me about just kind of like allowing that sun to get into your eyes. It's part of its healing process. And at first I was like, and I had a reaction, Julie, to a lot of the stuff that you shared over the years. And then, I sit with it and I'm like, is this true for me? Right? Which is what we're asking all of you to do as well. Don't just take our word for it. And I just started kind of playing around with looking at the sun for a second. And then I would look away and, kind of blinking and letting that sunlight in. And yeah, I did notice a few things just when I'm kind of like reading a book. I noticed some changes in my eyesight. And that's an Ayurvedic approach too. If you're a yogi, if you follow Ayurveda, one of their morning routines, and this comes out of an Indian heritage, Indian culture, just for overall wellness, is within the first 30 minutes of waking up, get the morning sunlight that you were talking about. It is a special kind of ray. Get the morning sunlight in your eyes. And it doesn't mean you don't have to look directly at the sun. Just go outside and, stare straight ahead. And right before you put your contacts in, before you put your glasses on. And what that actually does, and I looked this up, is it allows your body to reset its natural circadian rhythm. So getting morning sunlight in your eyes helps you sleep better at night. It's amazing. So I went to the eye doctor last week, and I did share this with some of y'all. He was doing the eye exam and all of that, and I noticed that on the contact box it said UV protection, and I was like, oh, are there any contacts that don't have UV protection? And he was like, oh no, they make them all with UV protection now. And I was like, interesting. And he said, why do you want it without it? And without being full weirdo, I was like, well, I believe that the sun's light is actually really healing for my eyes. And he was like, oh no, he went into the full medical, like it can cause and I said, I believe you believe that. And for me, this is my own healing process. So we go on with the exam. Lo and behold, my eyes have gotten better. My eyesight has improved. Now it's on the contact prescription, it's 0.5.
I think that's amazing. Don't minimize that. That's huge.
Right? I was like, what? And then of course I want to be like, shouldn't be putting sunlight in my eyes, huh? But I didn't. I was like, I just kept being like, wow, this is amazing. I can't believe my eyes are getting better. And he chalked it up to my former eye doctor who gave me a faulty exam. I was like, oh, that's interesting. So I've been wearing the wrong contacts for 10 years. So I just wanted to share that as evidence. Oh, and this is what I found from Dr. Barbara O'Neill. And we'll post this in the show notes. She has a whole talk on sunshine and rest. So she's like this Australian naturopath and herbalist and health provider. She calls the sun the doctor in the sky, which I really loved because it totally is. And she says that the eyes are an extension of the brain, and the brain needs sunlight in order to function, and the eyes are the way that sunlight gets to the brain. So she even mentioned this Dr. William Bates. He has the Bates method is He has a book called Better Eyesight Without Glasses, which I'm totally going to look into. But he recommends actually going outside and like lifting your eyelids up and looking down so that sunlight can get on the whites of your eyes, because that actually increases circulation to your eyes to help healing. So I'm going to totally look into this book. I can't recommend it yet personally, but Better Eyesight Without Glasses by Dr. William Bates. He's got all of these naturopathic approaches to improving your eyesight, and the sun is a big, big part of that. So sunglasses, ditch them unless you're inside and you want some fun color.
Well, thanks. That's an amazing story. So that's just right there, you know, the power of the sun and the power of your belief, right? I mean, you got to kind of believe it. And then the willingness to start, you know, challenging what's everyone's saying and start finding your own truth about the sun. And you know, my guide said something at one point about the sunglasses and that they're polarized lenses. And we live in a world of duality and polarity. And I'm not saying that it's a bad world. I'm just saying we are energized by polarity. And in order for us to start to unite and come together internally, I need to come together internally and heal. And then externally, we all need to come together. We can't have polarity. And so it's funny, a lot of what I've come to learn, it's written right in front of us. So, and also ultraviolet UV rays. Okay. If you think of violet as our crown chakra, and ultraviolet rays, I think I want some of that. It sounds great. Okay. I mean, violet is the color of kings and queens and you know, of knowing and connected. I mean, what? You know, Archangel Michael and the violet flame. I mean, I don't care what you know or don't know, but I want some ultraviolet.
The frequency of violet is often linked to our connection to the divine, our intuition, so that
right.
Using the frequency of light. So just to kind of give a little bit of.
Yes, thank you. So okay, so all right, so that's an awesome story. I'm just going to throw these blurbs out and you can grab onto whatever.
Yeah.
They also reminded me of my book cover, which was channeled. All that art was channeled. And they said, you're literally holding the sun in your hands, like in front of you. Like,
show it again?
Yeah, maybe we'll put a link in there too. But yeah, I mean, they're like, that is the sun. You know, you're holding that close to you. So then they talked about, and these are all different times. So I'm just throwing things out there about Jesus being the sun. And then they said, are you understanding, my child? Jesus was talking to me in this message. I mean, he just was. And they're like, are you understanding, my child? And I mean, I don't get my child often in channelings. And I was kind of like, well, a little bit. And then he said, you are sacred and dear to me. You have never been, nor will you ever be, not held in the loving safety of my embrace. This as sure as the sun. And he meant the sun in the sky. It's as sure as the sun. You can count on the sun. The sun will hold you in that loving and warm embrace. So that was like the first time I was like, wait, the sun is the sun. Mm-hmm. And if you think about the great central sun, Father, Mother, God, and our sun is an emanation, right? If you believe in even the Big Bang theory, whatever you believe, you got this ball of energy, off goes the sun here, a sun here, a sun here, a sun here, forming different solar systems. It's a system that is kind of revolving. I mean, the sun's pretty important there. The system is created around the sun. So it's like, all right, so that's a whole lot of concepts right there, but it's pretty cool when you think that the sun is the closest we can get to Father, Mother, God, you know, as this healing divine energy. So then they said Stargate systems are in formation. The sun, untold centuries waiting for the unveiling. So Earth has entered into some new magnetosphere. I don't know all the stuff about it. I just get it in messages. But this time, this alignment time that we're in, and what the sun is surrounded by, the sun is a portal. It's a stargate. It's offering us divine healing energy. And I just, I'm going to put on my tinfoil hat here for a second.
Do it.
Let's say some people that are a little more in the know than we are knew that every 26,500 years, there's going to be this cool conjunction that's going to make all the people really smart and wake up out of this kind of system we've been ensnared in, possibly. And they knew this is coming day, whatever. And they've created this fear campaign. Oh, and my guides called it a smear campaign. Like you're smearing yourself with sunscreen once. They're like, this smear campaign, it's gotten pretty amplified, right? Like, and so we're in this amazing time. And even the pictures I was taking of the sun in 2018 versus now, wow.
Really? Did you like pinpoint what's different?
I can see more color coming off, and it's intense. Before occasionally I get a little beam here, and now it's just like, and I mean, and now I can see kind of the pulsations of the sun. I've sent you pictures of things going in and out of the sun. Remember that day? It was like, I see things all the time. Well, that makes sense if the sun really is a portal. Okay, wow. So it's a little that we will just leave that. They said the fear of the sun is a warping. It's warping. This fear is like warping the energy. So if I believe the sun is dangerous, even if the sun is offering me divine guidance and healing, holding the belief that it will cause me harm warps my ability to integrate what's being offered.
Yeah.
So that's pretty they said hold on to nothing as your own other than the love of the light. God's radiance externalized and experienced in the light held and offered in the rays of the healing sun. I mean, these are over many, and they're not obsessed with the sun. I mean, they talk about a lot of stuff, but it gets sprinkled in as reminders. Let's see, plasma kaleidoscope coming into focus. So these gamma plasma rays that are coming off of the sun, like a kaleidoscope, are coming into focus, dependent upon an individual's frequency and their frequency emanations and resonance with such light. So that goes back to the warping. I can be emanated a frequency that is discordant, right? And I'm not gonna get, if you turn that kaleidoscope and it forms a beautiful picture, that means when I'm in, receptivity and cohesion, and that's coming in, and I know and understand it to be divinely healing to me, it will be. And then what's occurring inside of me.
That goes back to the Vessoul again with Vessoul vision. It's like, that's why we're so laser focused on our vessels right now. And I was just sharing with Julie, I'm doing this cleanse with just kind of being sober, being sober in all ways. And it's been a challenge, but it's also been amazing. But what I'm hearing from that message is when we do the work to purify our vessel as much as possible, we're still humans, we're still living in this world, we're not trying to get crazy with it, but whatever you're called to do to clear your vessel, then we're able to receive these rays in a more powerful way. So again, it's within without. What's happening on the inside is going to be what we're able to receive on the outside. It's that cycle. Is that what the
Yeah,
message is saying? Okay.
totally. And if you think about, say there's a portion of my body that there's inflammation, or it could be prone to errors in functionality, whether I came in with ancestral stuff or environmentally there's stuff, whether it's my thoughts or what I'm ingesting. That sun can take those little scrambled bits that you see inside a kaleidoscope and lock them in, and it forms a beautiful, geometric, sacred geometry. It returns that. So there's when we're, getting sick or whatever, there's a lack of organization or patterning to the way that things are supposed to occur in us. Things start kind of going a little wonky. And it's like that energy of the sun, amongst many other things. It's one tool to assist us in locking that kaleidoscope into a picture.
So bringing disorder into order.
Mhm. Yep. Okay, so then they said, they were talking about ergine, ERGINE. That's a whole nother day, but they were talking about amino acids as being the keys that unlock the functioning of our genetic code. And I was getting a little advanced, but we were a few years into it at this point. So, but they said that it's like there's rust on the lock. And so it's hard for the keys to start, the cell, the gene to express itself as intended to. And that they said the sun acts as like grease on the lock. It starts to open things up.
Wow.
All right. So it's like, okay, this is the sun. I mean, everybody can do this. Then they said, the photonic light is the greasing. The photonic light is the greasing. Neuropeptides and light codes from the sun are needed to run the cellular software. Again, they were, we started super slow, but after I get these messages, I kind of look things up and go, oh, okay, that seems to be true. So they also said photosynthesis in people. Don't think it's just related to plants. Photosynthesis occurs inside of us.
So with that idea, then something is being chemically altered to be what we need.
Yes.
So the sun is our food in some way, shape, or form.
They bring that in yesterday's message, so that'll be fun when we get to that. But you're spot on, Claire. So they said they said it's ocular light synthesis. So that came in again. Ocular. And they said they use poetry sometimes, and sometimes they throw in songs. And they were talking about the sun, and they were getting kind of heavy with like the neuropeptides. And sometimes I'm just like, but then they brought in the song Josh Groban, and they said, "You raise me up." That's the sun. They said, "Play that song. You raise me up so I can walk on water. You raise me up so whatever that I can see or whatever." That the idea that we have junk DNA, and at one point they said to me, "What of the divine creator? The divine creator cannot create junk." And I was like, "Well, that's a pretty fair point." So the idea that we have dormant or latent DNA just waiting, right, to come online, and that Josh Groban song, "You raise me up. You raise me up." Literally, you're gonna raise me up out of this, limited, functionality or experience or expression that we've been held in for a pretty long time as a race. You think about the evolution of a species and where we should be evolution in an evolutional process or cycle. We're not doing so great, guys. I'm just gonna say we're not really killing it. I mean, pun intended, but I don't know what the what the mortality rates are or what the average lifespan is, but we're not really going up. I mean, it's like,
Still have poverty. We still have children without parents, orphans being abandoned. I mean, it's all the same story.
right. And so it's like, I
War.
wonder, I wonder why we're not evolving. What could it be? There's a lot of reasons why we're not evolving, but let's start with the basics. If we think all the right things, we're reading all the reports, we're going to all the doctors, we're working out, we're going to meditate. Why are we not doing better? So just something to think about, because we are here to evolve. We are.
So do you think if we believe that we're all one, we're all connected to the oneness, and the sun is part of that oneness, which makes sense. I think about the ancient cultures like the Aztecs and the Mayans that worshipped the sun as a deity. They actually deified it.
Right.
We can understand that even from a scientific point of view. But are you saying that the sun itself is evolving as we are evolving? Because that would make sense to me.
Yes, because they've also said in one channeling, while the sun does create, it also receives. So it receives energetically from us as well. We are in communion. We are in union. And they're showing me right now that orb, the sun in the book. I don't mean to say it like I'm selling my book, but how the priests offered that communion. It's the disc. And it's like, we are in communion with the sun. We are offering and receiving. The sun is offering and receiving. So yes to that. Yes. Then they said, the light will be victorious and the divine DNA will be lit from within once again. So that was another, they bring up some things quite often. So that was, I think I probably went through 25 or 40 messages yesterday, but then knowing that we were going to do today, when I went to meditate yesterday, I kind of thought they would talk about the sun, and I was grateful that they did. I'm going to need my glasses because it's teeny tiny on my phone. And
Gotta look at the sun some more.
yeah. Okay, the sun as you know it today is not the sun of yesteryear. And Claire, stop me if there's anything that I should stop.
Sure.
Energy offered or emitted is not degradatory by any means or matter. In fact, conversely, conversion, convergence, and they do that a lot where they'll use a lot of words. So quite the opposite. And then the convergence of our energy with the sun creates a conversion within.
So we're co-creating.
Yes. Of the field of that which is the sun is offering now. It ameliorates the effects of what you call environmental toxins. We mean this to be all of that which the entirety of that which is your physical, emotional, and spiritual energy bodies. So they mean all of it, which we kind of talked about. Outside and all around. This as related to the errors of programming. And they're not talking about, they are talking a little bit about the programming of wear your sunscreen and be afraid of the sun, but they're also meaning what we came in with in terms of ancestral lineage stuff. So I might not be operating at my full capacity based on the blood that's in me was in my great grandmother. So whatever they experienced or created in their errors, which the ultimate error is forgetting that we are love, comes through, right? Okay, so they said that, and then they said conjunction of the earth and sun, magnetics and axis points have shifted. The sun is indeed that which you would call dangerous to those who wish for the perpetuation of the presentation of that which you would call an energetic prison or deleterious environment, which I didn't know what deleterious environment meant. So I needed to look that up, and it means damaging or causing harm. So just try that new word on for size, because you seem kind of slow.
I love it.
Deleterious environment to continue to perpetuate itself. So it is harmful for those who wish for us to not outgrow our little self, our small self. So then they said that what you would call an energy or deleterious. Okay, frequency band of aeons, which is basically eons, and archons, which I had to look up archons. Basically, they're powers that be. Support the perpetuation of this energetic prison, and this is no longer your current situation. So like the energy, like that's not happening anymore. The energy that you are surrounded in, it supports you. It supports your healing. It hasn't always been like that, but it's that now. So they begin to show me currency going to and through the people of the planet, so us and the planet itself. Information offered to upgrade and restore the organic system. Those who experience discomfort from the sun are offered an external presentation of all of that internally that is creating blockage around the integration of these beams of light. So it's...
I got nothing. What did that mean?
Okay. So they're saying, if I find that the sun is causing me harm, and I get marks on myself that will come out in the sun. They're like, it is a physical, literal manifestation of that which is an error in functioning, or a toxin, or something that needs to come out of you.
So it's drawing things out.
Things we wouldn't know are going on. We'd have no idea, right? So it's like the sun is assisting you. So even when you get some weird mark, not to be like, oh my God, I know that the sun's killing me. It's like, no, it's showing you, hey, there's something going on here. So to view it from that perspective, it's giving us the opportunity to see those things. And that's also at another level. That is a spiritual, emotional level too. As we are healed in ways that we can't understand, we have a greater ability to start healing ourselves from the inside out.
I think about that book, The Body Keeps the Score, right? Like the body, and a lot of ancient storytelling cultures believe that the body, we didn't just have 5 senses, we had 6 senses. And the 6th sense was the body's ability to hold all the records of everything we've ever done and experienced, emotionally, mentally. So the fact that the sun can penetrate those layers, not just the physical body is our densest way of being, right? And then as it expands out, we have our other bodies, but the fact that the sun can penetrate all of those and still pull all of those records out, because even if the body can hold all those records, it doesn't mean that we have to hold on to them forever. Right?
No, and we were at a time when it would be very difficult for us to release that bloodline storyline, and to speak to the body keeps the score. I was blessed that Vessoul, who actually wrote that book, he kind of took a liking to me when I was in a treatment center, and I went to dinner with him and kind of got to know him a little bit. I'm sure he doesn't remember me, but I remember him because I had just gone through some work in this treatment center where I was recalling really traumatic events that occurred. And at the other side of that remembering and releasing, I had all the marks and scratches and bruises like it had just happened. And
Wow.
Vessoul was there. And Vessoul started talking to me. I didn't know the book, The Body Keeps the Score. He taught me that. And he said, your body was holding on to all of that. And through that healing, it was able to let some of that go and show me, all the pain that was there.
But if you had looked at that and said, oh, this is bad, this shouldn't be happening, instead
Totally.
of this new perspective that you're kind of offering here is like, oh, it's just an awareness, right? Like, oh, thank you. What if we said thank you to our pain, to whatever the sun can pull out of our body for us?
Yeah, it's a whole new way of looking at things that aids us. Okay, so then okay, this gets great. When they start saying stuff I really don't know anything about, I get excited. They said hydrogen gas with electron neutrinos. They were talking about the sun, and I came out of that. I'm like, come on now. I look it up. Sure as shit. So there are electron neutrino fluxes, flux energies that shoot off the sun. And I was like, oh, cool. So they were talking about it. Then they got all fancy and started telling me what was going on. They make an association between neutrinos and nutrition. So you said that. It's like nutrition. And I didn't yet look into the prefix new, but I'm sure it's related. So I thought that was super cool. The words are related. They then show me the hydrogen bomb. So they show me the hydrogen bomb, and it was using some of the same properties of the sun, but it was amplifying. What was it doing? They said, okay, they showed me that I'm sure. Okay, then they said somehow neutrinos were then being used for degradation, is what they said. So the energy of the hydrogen. So I mean, if you're Bill Nye's the science guy, or you know any of this, you can speak to it. I did a topical little Google search, and I was like, whoa, that's true too. So to think that the energy, oh, okay, so the idea that this elements of hydrogen, right, in the neutrinos can be so healing, but on the flip side of that, can become so destructive. So it's, how is that energy harnessed? How is that energy used? And that's just a bigger like illustration of how, if we're not holding high vibrational thoughts around that, which we allow it to enter in, going to have a different effect.
But also, I mean, thinking about the power of a hydrogen bomb, the atom bomb.
Right.
On the flip side, that power, I mean, that's what's accessible to us.
Right.
And I think about like solar flares, like you and I have kind of been tracking solar weather for a while. And maybe this is just a fun challenge for listeners, like download this space weather app. There's plenty of stuff on social media of people who track this stuff and then interpret it themselves. But notice what your body does. And usually when these solar flares pop off, there's C class, M class,
and X class.
X class is the highest one.
So that's an X class, baby. Things are gonna get fun.
Yeah, and it usually the impact of those solar flares usually take 2 to 3 days to hit Earth's atmosphere. And just notice if sometimes symptoms include like you get super tired in the middle of the day, or, and Julie and I always crack up because she's always the opposite of whatever I am. And so I'm like, oh my God, I'm like dragging myself out of bed today. I need to take 2 naps. And she's like, energetic.
And some people do feel them right when they shoot off, which is interesting. Some people do, and then some people it takes a couple days. But it is fun. And what if we knew? What if it wasn't random chaos theory BS? What if there was a reason for that which we're going through, right?
As a collective.
Yeah, and then as an individual too, when we have a day where yesterday I was a little few trips to the ladies' room, I'm not gonna lie, which is very unusual for me. And my daughter, who's not even here, is like, Mom, what's going on? I can't get out of the bathroom. I'm like, oh, well, we've had some solar energy. And she's like, oh, well, that explains it. I mean, that's where we are now. But I mean, if I was holding on to what's wrong with me, I wonder if do I have food poisoning? Did I get a bug? Do I have stomach cancer? I mean, think of where our brain goes. My guide said to me once, when something is feeling weird in your body or something hurts, they said, why does the human always assume something is going wrong? Maybe something's going right. And it just doesn't feel good, but you're actually good. You're heading in the right direction. Something's getting cleared, right? And it's like, yeah, we do that. But if you knew, wow, I'm feeling weird, and you could start tracking some of the things like solar weather, it would be a little more fun when you're not feeling so great.
And I've even noticed after certain trips to the beach or where I did get a lot of exposure, sometimes then I will come home and 2 to 3 days later, I will come down with a little cold, or my body will be releasing and expressing in the form of what we would label as illness. But you've helped me kind of reframe that a little bit. And I still go into those thoughts though, of like, oh, when I get sick, what did I do wrong? Right. I think that's just really ingrained in us. But it is really freeing to think, okay, the sun is working for me. These energies are working for me. Then we can allow these things to move through our body and not get stuck, which then the stuckness, the lack of movement is what leads to disease, right? We've talked about that too.
Yeah, the resistance. All right, so it ends on kind of a high note. And then they said the worship of the sun, and they showed me, yes, those times, right? The ancient times. The sun, also the sun. So the worship is the sun, and the worship of Jesus Christ. There's a worship of Jesus, and all of that. But they said, as a representation of the source. So if the sun is representing the source and Jesus is representing, the son of the source, they said, they show me that the worship of the sun is due to the fact that the sun is the closest representation of that which you would call God in your particular solar system. Many sun systems exist as emanations of Father, Mother, God. The distortions around the sun are akin to the distortions around that and those which you would call and understand to be God and the Son of God to be or not to be. So many people, I'm an atheist. Well, I don't believe Jesus was the Son of God, or Jesus is the only Son of God. I mean, everybody's got all their different ways. And so what they're saying, the distortions around the sun on the sky are as great as the distortions around
Religion.
beliefs, around religion.
Wow.
And like, even if you think about the judgment, if you, I know you read the Bible and, because you were raised that way. My guides asked me to read the Bible at one point in like 2016. I was like, you gotta effing be kidding me. You want me to read the Bible? Like, that's insane. But in the Bible, they talk about kind of the downfall of people who worshiped the sun. Like, it was a great crime and it was terrible. And how could they do that? And they will be cursed, and their children's children will be cursed, and you'll eat bugs forever. But now maybe we're just going to eat bugs for protein. Who knows?
Oh, yes, we are actually.
Yeah. So they said the distortions are as great as that. And then they started talking about the drops that get put in babies' eyes after they're born. And I'm like, okay, segue, new topic. But it was like, you might want to look into that. And they said that they impact the ability to organize and synthesize the fractals of light information emanations offered from the sun of the great central sun. And I was like, well, I have not looked into this because that was a doozy-rooney for me yesterday. But I was like, why do they put those freaking drops in every baby's eyes? I don't know about that. And I'm just going to say, everybody who is putting those drops in at the hospital, you're doing exactly what you think is right. you're doing what you've been told. And I'm not saying it's not right, because I have no freaking idea other than this little thing that just yesterday. And I was like, huh, okay. If I were going to do it all over again, though, I wouldn't be putting those drops in my baby's eye. I'm just saying. And then they ended with this, because when that came in, I was like, ooh, And the neutrino stuff, they said, if you understand only one thing, understand this: the sun is a son of God and is here to serve you and make all things new. And then new, K-N-E-W. The sun is here to make all things new and remind you of who you are, what you know. And then they don't do this often. They ended with an amen.
Wow. Chills.
Whew. So I don't know. I mean, I'd get some sun. My life has been improved so tremendously. I mean, I've endured a lot, as all of us have on this planet, but it's been a rough run. And I am peaceful. I am happy. I'm healthy. I'm able to offer and receive love. And it's really from the guidance of these messages. So I don't know. I think.
Yeah, Julie, when was the last time you've been sick? I can't even remember.
I think 2016, when I was still married. So, I mean, I don't get a cold. I get nothing. I mean, I can be with anyone who's sick, COVID. I help take care of some people with COVID, and people are like, what are you doing? You can't go do that. And I'm like, no, I'm pretty sure I'll be fine. And, and I thought, well, even if I end up getting sick, if I'm offering love and comfort to the people I love who need love and comfort, that would be a sacrifice that I was like, I'm willing to make. But I don't get sick. I mean, and it's crazy that I don't get sick, because there's a lot of stress. I'm a clean eater, but oftentimes I eat the same thing over and over again because it's just me. So I'm probably not getting enough variety, but I don't get sick. And I do attribute it to, I said to them at one point several years ago, I was kind of like, I mean, what else do you have to say to me? Are you kidding? Like, what kind of punk? Who says that? And they said, we will never be out of information to offer to you. And then they said, and you will never tire of it. But they said, know that just you connecting with this frequency or this vibration, even if you're not receiving information, right? Any person who spends time trying to, not even trying, you don't have to try, allow yourself to receive what is offered from this, pillar of light. When you spend more and more time in those higher frequencies, you're not going to get sick. You're just not going to get sick as much. It's just, you can't, because now you're in touch with this higher vibration that, those lower things, and it's not one's better or one's less than. It's just, I'm not a match. I'm not a match for certain viruses. I'm just not a match. So if there's a,
I'll say though, from personal experience, it can also increase your incidence of illness in the beginning.
totally.
But yes, it's because of what we've been talking about this episode, and it's just an opportunity to reframe the way that we look at it and the way we honor our bodies, and our bodies know exactly what they're doing.
Yes, our bodies are healing at all times. These are healing instruments for healing, right? I can help heal after I've allowed myself to be more, fully healed every single day. But we know how to heal. My brother just had open heart surgery. It was a 10-hour surgery last week. They sawed him open and then spent, I guess 9 something. I don't know how long it takes to cut a body open, but cleaning, doing things in there. He went home. So this was Thursday night. He got out of the hospital. He went home yesterday on Monday. And you think you can saw your body open, and then they're going to send him home, and the body's going to know how to put itself back together. It's freaking amazing. Yeah. So.
And we should send him outside once he can get moving outside.
Yeah. So, all right, thanks for being here today. Get some sun, or at least get some sun water, or at least maybe consider some other kinds of sunscreen or not.
Yes. Go absorb everything that the sun has for us. The sun and the universe is working for us.
Thank you.
Thank you.